This is TWiT.
We'll start off in order of product releases. So the first one is the Meizu 15. So the Meizu 15 is Meizu's flagship for 2018, which also happens to be their 15th anniversary as a business. Meizu started off 15 years ago making MP3 players and then evolved into a smartphone company. So Meizu are a Chinese brand. They're very big in China. In many ways, they are accused of taking inspiration from the Fruity phone company who design things in California. But more often than not, we see Meizu coming along and actually doing innovations such as the positioning of antenna bands long before Apple actually get to market with their product. So it's a bit of a mutual inspiration going on there. Meizu are a company who are well known for their hardware design, and usually their product portfolio goes from the low end to the high end of the mid-range. And by that I mean not where OnePlus are now positioned, which is definitely starting to be flagship territory. With the Meizu 15, they have ensured they stay within that mid-range. So the Meizu 15 starts around about $400. And for that, you get a 5.5-inch screen, which is not one of the funky new 18:9 aspect ratio ones. It doesn't have a notch. It's a normal 16:9 aspect ratio one. The hardware is beautifully designed. They've gone for as much symmetry and balance as possible. So the selfie camera is pop in the middle. The fingerprint scanner is in the middle at the bottom. If you turn the device around, the cameras are in the middle of the device in a vertical configuration, and it has a ring flash there.
Oh,
so
is that what that is?
I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
So that's 6
unique.
LEDs for the flash, and the laser autofocus is positioned in the middle. So it's beautifully designed.
It's neat.
It's the metal it's made of is a stainless steel aluminium composite, and they've then coated that with some other material, which makes it a terrible fingerprint magnet. But after a few wipes and microfiber cloth use, it buffs up. It's a beautiful, beautiful material. And then they've put another little detail in the antenna bands. They now have this Greek-style effect. I believe lower down in the Coolsmartphone article where I review the device, I've done a close-up of that little detail which is there. And so, yes, the Meizu 15 is their flagship for 2018. It's their 15th anniversary phone, which they've spent a lot of care and attention to producing as a product, even bringing in one of the company founders to assist with that design. So there we are. The picture there has that Greek effect, I'm afraid.
Almost like the border of it. Yeah, it's very subtle. How does that look in person? Because it's actually kind of hard to see on the web.
Yeah, it's in person. It's not something you notice immediately, but if you look in at it, it's just that little detail that shows that they've spent a lot of time and effort in making this device look and feel really, really good.
Yeah.
They've also recessed the notification LED on the front within the speaker, so within the phone speaker. And I'm sorry, Ron, they're not living up to your Bluetooth utopia. They have maintained the Courage port, as well as a USB Type-C port.
That's fine. I understand why. I get it.
But the Meizu 15, I've been using as a primary device for over a month now. It is a lovely, lovely device, and it's, in a way, quite pleasant to have a 16:9 aspect ratio device. Some of these newer 18:9 or 19:9 aspect ratio devices, they're a bit more difficult for me to type on with my chunky thumbs. Whereas because the aspect ratio is different, it's easier to type on a 16:9 aspect ratio display, at least for me. And another thing they've made a lot about is their M engine, so their haptic feedback engine. So they've optimized that for the device and their operating system, their Android distribution, based on Android 7.1 Nougat. Flyme is very finely tuned with their haptic feedback. Obviously, the Meizu 15 is the main device, the 5.5-inch one. There is the Meizu 15 Plus, which differs from the 15 in that it has a 6-inch screen. It's not running a Qualcomm Snapdragon chipset. It's running on a Samsung Exynos chipset. That's the Meizu 15 Plus, whereas the Meizu 15 runs on a Qualcomm Snapdragon 660 chipset. And then there's the Meizu M15, which is also known as the Meizu 15 Lite outside of China, which is running on a Snapdragon 626 chipset. But overall, the design cues of the whole range of Meizu 15 devices is pretty much the same. The operating system, their new version of Flyme 7, is the same. It's very iOS-like, but within that, it's very clean, very fast, and it's customizable with themes, much the same as many other Asian devices on the market. And I was very, very pleasantly impressed with the Meizu 15 at launch, and I've carried on using it since. I was a guest of Meizu's at the launch in China, and I'm convinced that the only reason they invited me was that they had a National Geographic photographer they had partnered with, Michael Yamashita, and he showed a picture he took with the Meizu 15 of a goat in Mongolia. I don't know if you can see that in the article, Victor.
They probably did that on purpose, I'm thinking.
I'm sure they did.
They just knew.
So it's at the bottom, the Michael Yamashita shot.
Keep going. Yeah, it's like in a conference. Yeah, there you go.
There we are. So that was taken. That picture was taken in low light. The cameras on the Meizu 15 are very, very good. It's the same sensor and setup as the Huawei P20, not the P20 Pro, the P20, with a different software stack. So the sensor is very capable. The software setup is different.
And there's no NFC on here, so Android Pay is off the table, right?
Yes.
Or Google Pay, sorry, not Android Pay.
Google Pay is not available because there's no NFC. This is a device primarily made for the Chinese market, but it is going to be sold in markets across Europe, Africa, and Asia. Sadly, no plans from Meizu to come to the UK or the USA.
Go to that last picture real quick. This is interesting how it blurs out like the center area, but
it's more obvious. It's more obvious on the computer monitor. You can see that like half the picture's blurred. Yes. And it kind of works, but when you really see what's going on,
I mean, so
half
much
the boat is blurred.
Yeah. If you scroll a few images further on, also my cat, Vala, the tuxedo cat, she was moving and it's blurred. It's focused on the wrong thing. I believe it's mainly a software issue. The software isn't right as well as other companies have with very similar hardware.
Right.
But the hardware is very, very capable. If you take the time and attention to frame your pictures and take a shot, it does give good results. But it's not as simple as point and shoot on your Pixel 2 XL or a Huawei P20 Pro, for example.
I mean, you could be jumping with the Pixel and it'll still like take an appropriate photo.
Yeah, it's kind of
the dual camera setup Victor has up here offers you the option to have 2 times optical zoom or 3 times lossless zoom. So it's a 12 megapixel sensor, main sensor, and a 20 megapixel RGB sensor. And so this is, if you scroll back a couple, so this is the main shot, this is 2 times zoom, and the next one is 3 times lossless zoom.
Right.
So
that's pretty impressive.
Their own thing. It's not perfect, but it's very impressive. And for most people, it's more than enough for their photography needs.
Nice. And this is just...
So you're getting...
Oh, sorry.
A lot of phone for $400.
Yeah, no kidding. And just the Chinese market, although people will be able to import this if they like as well, right?
Definitely. If you go to AliExpress or even to Amazon in most markets, you'll be able to pick one up through a parallel importer.
Nice.